As you all know, I am here as Special Envoy of the Prime Minister for the inauguration of President Trump and Vice President Vance. I will run through broadly what I was doing in the last 2 days and some of the discussions, share some of the substance of the discussions we've had. With regard to the inauguration ceremonies, I attended the swearing in. There was a church service before that. Evening, there were socials. So it gave me an opportunity to meet a few other people there. I had an occasion to meet the Secretary of State, and since he was confirmed, we had a bilateral meeting yesterday at the Department of State. And there was also a Quad foreign ministers meeting because all the Quad foreign ministers were here for the inaugural. Separately, I met National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. I had met him in December when I came. During the course of my stay, I also had the opportunity to interact with Speaker Johnson, with Majority Leader Senator Thune. I made the acquaintance of 6 cabinet members of the incoming of the administration which has come in. So that's broadly in terms of the activities of the last 2 days. If I were to share my overall impressions, I would say one, it was very clear that the Trump administration was keen to have India present at the inaugural itself, and they're clearly prioritizing the bilateral relationship. Secondly, I think in the meetings I had, it was also evident that they would like to build on the foundation of the relationship, a foundation which the first Trump administration also contributed a lot to building. President Trump and Prime Minister Modi at that time took a number of initiatives, and we have seen that mature in many ways. The third impression was with regard to the Quad. Again, a very strong sense that the current administration would reciprocate our desire as well to take the Quad further, to intensify its activities. And I remind you that Quad itself was restarted in 2017 when in the United States Donald Trump was the president. Let me say a few words about the bilateral relationship because I had both in my meeting with Secretary Rubio as well as NSA Waltz, a lot of our discussion centered on the bilateral side. And in many ways, I think between us and the Trump administration, we approach the world both with a clear-eyed sense of our national interest, belief in the in the mutuality of benefits in any interaction. I think we have a very strong degree of trust today between India and the United States, a very high level of convergence of our interests, and a sense that while we serve our national interests, while we build our bilateral partnership, definitely on regional issues and global issues, there is a lot of good that we can do. So that sense of global good was also very evident conceptually in what we discussed. In terms of the bilateral ties, I think now you do understand this was the first day of the administration, so obviously we had a sort of essentially a broad brush conversation, didn't get too deep into details, but there was, I think, an agreement, a consensus between us that we need to be bolder, we need to be bigger, we need to be more ambitious the interactions between us should be more intensive. And some of some of the specifics we discussed, we want to promote the ease of building the relationship. That if, how do you make business, mobility, education, technology, defense, security, how do you make it easier to do between two countries who would like to do it? But there are the burden of regulations and the complexity of processes. So I did see understanding and a recognition that we need to make this process much smoother than it has in the past, so that it actually enables us to achieve our shared objective, really, of this bolder, bigger, more ambitious relationship. When it came to various regulations and processes, I also flagged some concerns which are very widespread in India about delays in visas, and the relationship is not well served if it takes that many days for people to get a visa, because ultimately those visa delays do impact business, they do affect tourism, they in many ways constrain the people-to-people interactions, which is the foundation of our relationship. When I spoke about the strong trust between us, I think we would like to translate that trust more and more into an actual partnership. So whether it's technology, whether it's an industrial partnerships, education, defense, security, really we are open in all domains. I think today the enthusiasm and the levels of comfort are very strong between India and the United States. So it was really a question, we were competing with each other to say, look, how much faster, how much further we can take this relationship, and how best we can do that. Just want to say a few words about the Quad as well, and then I'd be happy to respond to any questions or comments you have. For Secretary Rubio and Foreign Minister Iwaya of Japan, this was the first Quad meeting that they were attending. Minister Wong, Penny Wong, and I had done quite a few before. So in a way, it was a sort of a stock taking of the Quad. So each one of us came in with, where we thought we were. But there was a very, I would say, animated exchange of ideas. And the sentiment in the room was very much that, Quad is a collaborative activity. And therefore, it's important to continuously refresh it, to keep doing more and more, to keep adding substance. And I think we ended on the note that this year India would be hosting the Quad Leaders Summit. So between now and the summit, what are the new ideas, the fresh activities that we could contemplate? So we felt that this was something which our team should get to work to, and we ourselves as ministers committed ourselves to monitoring it and meeting as required. Where the Quad is concerned, I would say the fact that the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting was held on the first day of the administration at work, literally within hours of Secretary Rubio being sworn in. I think in a way the meeting itself was the message. So we all sort of noted that and proceeded accordingly. So this was broadly, what's been the activities of the last 2 days. I'm happy to respond to any questions that you may have. But overall, I again would say that, it's been for me a great honor to represent the Prime Minister and the Government of India at this important occasion. And I do think that, my presence here is not only statement about the relationship, but has also been a very valuable opportunity to get off to a very early start. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll now take 2 to 3 sets of questions. We'll start with the first. Saurabh, Yashwant, Lalit.
Minister, welcome to DC and a belated happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Minister, you spoke about the trust.
If you could please
Yeah,
identify
Saurabh Shukla from Inaugural. Minister, you spoke about the trust in the relationship, and that was clearly visible in the manner in which the US side recorded red carpet welcome to you for this inaugural. There is a sense that President Trump, and he's spoken about it many times, about a special partnership with Prime Minister Modi. How soon do you see a summit meeting happening between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, and what agenda is in the works for that?
Take a set of
Okay, sure.
Yashwant.
Thank you so much for doing this. Yashwant Raj for IANS. I had the same question as Saurabh, but I wanted to ask you if you could confirm or deny Reuters report that the two leaders could be meeting next month, or at least attempts are on to get them to meet next month. And two, in the State Department readout of your meeting with Secretary Rubio, it said Secretary Rubio raised something about irregular migration. I was wondering if that was another phrase for illegal people, Indians coming in illegally through the southern border of the country. Thank you.
Lalit.
Lalit Shah from Media Investors of India. Just follow up on what Yashwant said. There's news report coming out of India that India is working with the Trump administration to deport around 18,000 undocumented Indians. Can you confirm that? What who told who's only deported from the US? And secondly, did any one of those officials of the Trump administration raise the issue which were the roadblocks in the relationship, the court cases that are going on about some Indian officials and Indian businessmen?
Sorry, about?
The court cases that are going on about Indian officials, former Indian officials, and the Indian businessmen.
Oh, okay. The first question, observation, Saurabh, yes, I definitely, as someone who's been involved in the relationship for many, many decades, I would say that the levels of trust are very high, and not just because in a way the trust is a more systemic sentiment. I would also say there's a very visible chemistry between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, and that also in a sense percolates through the system and reinforces that comfort and trust that you have referred to. So there was a very visible appetite to get this relationship moving, to do more, to raise the bar, set bigger goals. So that was the sort of feeling in the room. Now, in terms of your query about and what Yashwant also raised about possible meeting between the leadership, between the Prime Minister and the President. Look, I mean the administration has just come in. Understandably, at the moment, everybody is focused on the inaugural ceremony. I mean, they're also finding their feet and attending to the priorities of the day. But I mean, clearly there is an interest in taking the relationship forward. Now, the exact mechanics of it, as and when we have something to tell you, we'd be happy to share with you. But I do remind you that the Prime Minister had a very early phone call with President Trump, and that I had come last month and made the initial contact with the NSA. So it should give you a direction in which today the relationship is going. At what point that direction reaches that culminating point, I think we'll have to wait and see. In terms of your second observation, one other issue, Saurabh, you asked about the agenda. Again, there are these broad subjects, let us say defense and security, or skills and education, or technology. But within that, I think there's a lot of latitude, there's a lot of unexploited space, there are new things to do, but there's also the challenge of how do we do the regular things better than we were doing. So I think there was a openness to look at a lot of this, especially, some of our concerns about process issues, delays. I think there was a very positive response, because that's also the outlook of the administration as a whole, that, how do we make governance more efficient and effective. So if you have in the two countries really two leaders who are very focused on effectiveness and the quality and the speed of governance, efficiency of governance, naturally that is something which also percolates into the relationship as well. In terms of the reference you made, Yashwant, to the irregular migration, yes, we had a discussion on a range of issues, and one of the issues which came up was actually mobility of people. Now, we have a position on mobility which is a principal position, applies to all countries. As a government, we obviously are very much supportive of legal mobility, because we do believe in a global workplace. We want Indian talent and Indian skills to have the maximum opportunity at a global level. So at the same time, we are also very firmly opposed to illegal mobility and illegal migration, because you also know that when something illegal happens, many other illegal activities get joined onto it. And it's not, this is not desirable, it's certainly not reputationally good. So we have, with every country, and the US is no exception, we have always taken the view that if there are any of our citizens who are not here legally, if we are sure that they are our citizens, we have always been open to their legitimate return to India. So it's not a position unique to the United States. I do understand right now that there is a certain debate going on and a resulting sensitivity which is there. But we have been consistent, we have been very principled about it, and that remains our position, and I conveyed that very clearly to Secretary Rubio. At the same time, I also told him that, look, while we understand all of this, and I also accept that these are autonomous processes, it is in our mutual interest to facilitate legal and mutually beneficial mobility. So as I said, if it takes 400 odd days waiting period to get a visa, I don't think the relationship is well served by this. So I think he also noted that point. So let us see how we take that forward. But while I've seen some numbers, and I'm moving now to Lalit's question here, I've seen some numbers. I caution you about them, because for us, a number is operative when we can actually validate the fact that the individual concerned is of Indian origin. So, we'll have to see sort of really how that goes, because it has, as I said, the basis of their stay or not able to stay, and the fact that at our end we have to verify that they are indeed Indians, because naturally there are sensitivities involved there as well. On the court case issue, no, the subject did not come up.
Seema, Mr. Jayaraman, and then Supaji.
Mr. Minister, I know it's only 2 or 3 days.
You could identify the organization.
Sorry. Seema Sirohi from the Economic Times. I'm a columnist. How do you read the China policy? I know it's only 2 or 3 days. Given the fact that President Trump has gone beyond what the US law says on TikTok, gone against the US Supreme Court judgment, and wants to cut a deal on TikTok, does it tell you that he is willing to sort of overlook national security concerns? So what's your read so far on China policy? Because from India's point of view, that would be an important policy, right? How he executes it.
Mr. Jed.
Good morning, folks. Foreign Minister. This is Vishnudatta Jayaraman from News India Times and South Asian Gulf. What are the primary concerns you are personally hearing from Indian American lawmakers, policy experts, and community organizations? And did you get a chance to convey these concerns to the US officials? And what is your sense on how they are planning to engage with India? And the second question is, as the Prime Minister is special envoy for the inauguration, could you share some key highlights and what aspects stood out to you the most? Thank you.
So, Pakistan Tanwa from Punjab Post and Third Eye Media. So, my question is not related to today's event. Lots of my colleagues, they have already asked. I want to take you back in last year, जब आप अमृतसर में गए थे, तो पंजाब के लोगों ने आपके सामने एक बात रखी थी, ट्रेड विद पाकिस्तान, और उसके बाद आप पाकिस्तान भी गए, और दो इशू हैं ट्रेड के, और जो पाकिस्तान से ड्रग आ रही है उसके साथ लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन बहुत खराब है पंजाब में। वहाँ के पुलिस स्टेशन जो है उनकी दीवारें ऊंची की जा रही हैं, और वहाँ के जो रास्ते 8 बजे रात को बंद कर दिए जाते हैं। सो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का इसके बारे में एजेंडे के ऊपर कहाँ ये 3 चीज़ें, ट्रेड विद वाघा बॉर्डर, थ्रू वाघा बॉर्डर, एंड ड्रग एंड लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इन स्पेशली इन बॉर्डर एरियाज।
Prashant.
Prashant Jha of the Hindustan Times. So one question which is beyond the bilateral. How do you have a view on US's sovereign decisions to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, from WHO? Do you see these, its criticism of multilateral organizations including the UN, do you see this as creating a vacuum that other players in the international system could fill in? My second question is on something that the Secretary Rubio mentioned in the statement, which was a positive-looking phrase on economic ties. Could you give me a sense of the conversation on the economy that you had with him, including trade, and whether there is a possibility of a trade agreement between the two sides, or whether you anticipate punitive measures from the administration and how that came out?
Right. Seema, let me respond to your question. I mean, look, what is the policy of an American administration towards China is either for the Americans to explain or the Chinese to comment. It's not for me publicly to take a position on it. I am obviously, dealing with the world. We obviously reflect on various developments. What I can say, as someone who's come here, interacted with, the key foreign policy figures of the administration certainly, is the positive sentiment they have for our country and for our relationship. If you ask me, okay, go beyond that, the bit I can share with you is, what we discussed during the Quad. And during the Quad, the sentiment was very clear that, the Indo-Pacific is a very crucial region, that it's important, that there is stability there is security there is a respect for law. I think, some of it was very succinctly captured in that statement which was there. But beyond that, another bilateral relationship for me to comment publicly, I don't think really would be appropriate. Regarding Mr. Jayaraman, your question about Indo-American lawmakers, I did encounter, I sort of bumped into Mr. Thanedar at the inaugural ceremony. I think I saw Ami Bera at a distance, but I didn't really have an opportunity because, this visit, one entire day really was focused around the inauguration events, and yesterday on the Quad and the bilateral. So this is not an occasion where I can say anything more because I've not had a chance to spend time with them. On the inaugural highlights, look, I mean, to me, though I have been dealing with this country for more than 40 years, it was the first time I was myself at an inauguration. And obviously, it was something which was very impressive. As I said, I was there at the Rotunda observing the swearing in, and between the prayer service and the social occasions, you got a flavor really of the sentiment, or the interaction of various people who are there, their enthusiasm. I mean, what I saw was really a very confident, upbeat, incoming administration. I mean, that feeling that, look, we need to get things done, and where India is concerned, that you are a partner with whom we can get things done, that because there is already a strong chemistry between the President and the Prime Minister. There is a previous administration with whom, which we were the same at that point of time, that there is that history of working together. So that buoyancy and that confidence which I saw generally, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the last 48 hours, I mean, it's been an extraordinarily active administration. And not just last 48 hours, they were actually very active even before they actually assumed office. So I think that energy which I could experience, I can tell you in many ways is fully reflected on the Indian side, and we would certainly like to use that to take our relationship to a higher level. सतपाल जी, जो आपका जो प्रश्न जो था ट्रेड विद पाकिस्तान, देखिए, ट्रेड हमने तो बंद नहीं किया, जो किया तो उनके प्रशासन ने जो 2019 में जो निर्णय लिए गए कि भारत के साथ व्यापार नहीं करना, वो उनके साइड से था। तो हमारा जो ये इस मुद्दा के बारे में हमारी जो चिंता जो थी, शुरू से हमारा हित था कि हमें MFN स्टेटस मिले, कि हम पाकिस्तान को MFN स्टेटस देते थे, वो हमको देते नहीं थे। तो आज पिछले साल के बाद ऐसी कोई पाकिस्तान के साथ बैठ के ऐसी कोई बात नहीं हुई व्यापार के बारे में, ना उनके यहाँ से कोई ऐसा इनिशिएटिव आया है। जो ड्रग्स के बारे में जो आप कह रहे हैं, वो तो सबको जानकारी है इसमें कि वहाँ से ड्रग्स काफ़ी संख्या में आते हैं, और ये चिंताजनक विषय है। और जो वहाँ जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, अगर आप पाकिस्तान की लॉ एंड ऑर्डर बात कर रहे हैं या बॉर्डर एरिया के लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, हाँ, देखिए, जो हमारे यहाँ जो इंटरनल अफेयर्स हैं, आप जानते हैं कि मैं देश के बाहर जाके इसके बारे में टिप्पणी नहीं करता। तो हमारे जो भी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव चैलेंजेस हैं, हम निपट लेंगे उसके साथ। ये तो हम पर ही निर्भर है कि हम इसके कैसे रिस्पॉन्स करें। जो आपका जो है प्रशांत, योर क्वेश्चन ऑन व्हाट इज आवर रिएक्शन, लुक, एवरी कंट्री हैज़ अ सॉवरेन राइट टू टेक decisions, about what are their international commitments and responsibilities. So we can have our respective views on it. I mean, obviously, it's not necessarily identical for countries, but I think that's a decision they have taken. I mean, different countries may have their own view of and their own stance in that regard, but it is their decision, so I leave it at that. On your issue on economic, you asked me, give me a sense of the economic discussions. There was a discussion both with the Secretary as well as with the NSA, not in detail again. I mean, please do appreciate, I mean, that we were running a tight timeline. We had also a quad to do, but the overall sense is, look, there are a lot of opportunities here. The US today, in an era of more technology-centric progress, sees, I mean, the messaging I got very clearly was, look, we appreciate the value of India as a partner. There are domains we want to work on. There are systemic things we need to do to sort of optimize collaboration. Obviously, I mean, there will be the economic interests of the two countries. We will sit down and talk about it and discuss that when the moment is opportune. But on this particular occasion, we didn't get into that kind of detail, partly because of the occasion and partly because that is really, trade matters are really for the trade teams to do. On either side, it's not my direct jurisdiction, nor was it those of the people I was meeting. So, but for me, the deeper sentiment was really the takeaway, saying, look, you have your interest, we have ours, we have to harmonize it, we have to get the best out of it. We are very confident that, I didn't get the sense of it being a zero-sum game. I saw it as much more collaborative. And a lot of, I would say, attention on ISET, on, semiconductors, on supply chains. I mean, it was much more that than, the other issues.
Thank you very much. Mr. Prime Minister has another engagement. Okay, Ms. Poonam, I think got left out. No, last question. Sorry, we have another engagement here. Yes.